Hey, what's going on, everyone? Astrology Eric Rosen here. This is Viking Rising Astrology, your weekend horoscope for October 26th, Saturday to Sunday, October 27th. Moon's going through Virgo. Mars is approaching that opposition to Pluto, Cancer to Capricorn. And there are aspects, good ones, being made between Chiron and Jupiter. You've heard me say this before. Don't fuck this up. The way to not fuck this up is to start meddling and piddle-dicking around your daily routine, doing small-minded stuff, basically, that's just trying to conceal a wound of you showing the F up for yourself. Like the authentic expression of you to actually expand your reality. This is about expression. This is about having conversations with people that need to be had. This is not about shying away from conflict. This is most absolutely, being firm, being diplomatic, but it's also being diplomatic with yourself to make sure that you're not starting to look at that Mars that's in its pre-shadow in Cancer that's going to be facing Pluto, to think about playing small in your life, to kind of shrink into a comfort zone that just can't be understood yet because of that pre-shadow, because the fears are too great to expose the biggest transformations of your life when it comes to your destiny, life path, your career, how you show up in the public, basically how you put yourself out into the world and to actually make those fucking shifts. Because it's funny to be not drop the F-bomb early and then drop the F-bomb, but that's even a concealing thing too. It's where do we sometimes express or sugarcoat the expression of ourselves and we dull the authenticity? This astrology is basically looking at, don't take this last 16 years of Pluto and Capricorn and then flush it down the toilet and kind of be one of those people that just kind of was victim-y and oh, thank God I got through Pluto and Capricorn, and I just blah, 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 but bullshit. It's it had to lead to something. Even if the pot of gold at the end of the dark rainbow that's been Pluto and Capricorn was your own reflection of your own narcissistic ledges, because I think we all have them, and looking at these personality qualities of our psychology and going deep into, where do we kind of have deceptive elements of how we show up in the public. I'm very vulnerable on social media about the stuff that I went through, even to the point where some colleagues are like, hey, are you sure you want to post that? It's well, I guess that's the thing. It's you find where the boundaries at with Pluto and Capricorn. It's you don't hide anything. You almost kind of White Rabbit 8 Mile yourself and talk about the full exposure of who you are and what you've been up to, what you've done in the past, your history, all of it. And the easiest way to convey it and express it and have discussions with people, about it and that vulnerability is to see, have you actually owned it fully? Have you owned that loss of power that you gave away to those situations where you could have been operating in a better frequency alignment of how you show up in your day-to-day life? So this is definitely, I'll say, a red flag weekend when it comes to paying attention to getting seduced basically into an easier way of living that's basically just playing it small, and it's you're disconnecting from what's going on in the world and ignoring it too much. It's you don't want to tune in and listen to it, but it's you want to pick up on the subtle frequencies of the disturbances that are going on out there. It would be kind of there's been a disturbance in the force, Star Wars shit, and it's how does that go if you just keep going about your day-to-day life acting like nothing's changed, and then and then the rebels drop in, or the Sith drops in, or Vader drops in, whatever, And so I think this is a highlight time to pay attention to, the writing on the wall of just what's going on in the world in terms of that level of deception, and seeing that God's going to honor the brave ones. He's going to honor the ones that are using their voice, using their opportunities basically to not hide, because this astrology is really highlights some fine print, even though it can feel a little hazy, where it was what happened in civil wars, revolutionary wars. It's most people just stayed on the sidelines and just kept doing their thing and then waited for death to show up on their doorstep. And I'm using death as an analogy here of transformation with Pluto, where it's You know, you don't want to be the wine bag that's like, all this stuff's going on in the world, or this stuff's going on even at my job or my career. They laid these people off, or they're laying us off, or they're doing this. And it's like, are you paying attention though? I mentioned in a prior horoscope, we have to have entrepreneurial spirits right now. Like, doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or not, you have to be thinking in terms of like, how do you govern your reality the best to build a solid launch pad so that when Pluto does go into Aquarius like next month, and that's all about innovation in the future, you have a solid basis of a deep understanding of like what motivates you to want to be in this reality, to survive, to achieve, to keep going. Because if you don't have that, it's so easy to get seduced by, in this case, this weekend, it's small-minded thinking. In other cases, it's just getting pulled into our vices, our patterns, you know, basically just like the dark that seems fine, but it's really just a pattern that's being played. And so there's nothing wrong with living a humble life. The issue is that if we're not pouring our passion, life force energy with Sun and fucking Scorpio, where it's like we gotta light the passion up, we will pour it into a vice. We will pour it into some seductive dark element. So it's like, if you're like meddling around, you know, your day-to-day life, not really like putting your passion into something, that energy wants to go somewhere, and then it gets grounded into some dark bullshit. You know, it's like for a lot of men, it's like there's a big struggle with porn addiction. You know, the porn industry is like $1 billion fucking industry. It's like, I don't know, maybe for women, it's like makeup or something. I don't know. I'm not trying to be conflicting here. I'm just like saying it's like we all have these elements that like seduce us into something that maybe we overdo it, and maybe it's not the best way to use our time or energy. This could even be money, you know, because of this Scorpio, it's like, you know, investments. So I think it's an important weekend, you know, because when, you know, about a week from now, when we get to this new moon in Scorpio, and that opposition is exact with Mars and Pluto, it's go time. You know, it's go time. It's there's going to be a lot getting launched deception wise, collectively. This brings up the hidden stuff in the government. Some of it probably won't even make the media. It's probably we're gonna have to tune more into our intuitive senses of like what's going on. And you know, like at the end of the day, it's like, it's only worth knowing that stuff to kind of like, this brings up even especially the people in human design where their spleen's not defined, and it's like you don't know like when an oh shit moment is coming. And so it's like, if you're staying motivated, if you're staying on purpose, if you're staying on your passion of what it is that you're here to do, and aligning with more of a destiny sense of purpose, and you know that about yourself and you're doing it, you just keep doing it. You know, this is more the wake-up call for people that are like on the fence, South Node and Libra, still like weighing things out. And it's like North Node, Chiron, and Aries. You just do it. You just show up as your authentic fucking self, and you express it, and you know, put it out there. This isn't about going to war with people, especially like people that, you know, that are willing to feel and be vulnerable, and you know that they're still fully human, because this brings up debates about what non-human entities are at this point on Earth. And you know that it's not about that, it's more just about being firm with your boundaries. Scorpio absolutely brings up energetic boundaries. And you know, some people say it's like, oh, you know, like you don't need boundaries when there's unconditional love present. I truly believe in that myself, you know, like, and I've said that, but it's like the stepping stones of the evolution of transformation, when there's still fear present, that Scorpio teaches us, and Pluto as well, is that, you know, this brings up with it Pluto and Capricorn, both the energetic boundaries of that Sun and Scorpio, but the physical ones of Pluto and Capricorn with time management, you know, like disciplines, just all of it. We do this on the way to a path of unconditional love, you know, because it's a tall order. Like mystics will spend years, decades, maybe a lifetime sometimes fully embodying that. And then Scorpio teaches us that there's always a transformation around the bend. The snake sheds its skin, it grows new skin, but that new skin's gonna shed again someday. So it's like there's always gonna be a journey. It's not about fucking enlightenment and holier than thou and you figured it out, because fortunately there's a million people on the internet that fucking think they know everything, you know, and you just put it into a position where, you know, you do those boundaries and see what it's teaching you. You know, Pluto Scorpio is a great teacher of like why boundaries are needed until that facing that death transformation element so that you can rise into the passion again, you know, and there's a very loving, passionate element of the willingness to face an ego death. And this weekend, it's definitely the ego death about playing small, you know, and being too domestic. It's almost be like putting ourselves on a leash, you know. Virgo rules pets. It's like moon going through Virgo. It's like, are you gonna like start training yourself, you know, like you train your dog or your cat or something, you know, like those types of disciplines and routines. It's like, no, it's like you got to go big or go home. Do it before Mars goes retrograde, December 6th in Leo. The Pluto and Capricorn special is still available. You can get that for $8, but that's for all 12 sun signs. But the one that I'm really excited about is I'm going to be doing one for all 12 sun signs that I'm going to be launching here in a few days. I haven't decided a date yet, but gets deeper into this opposition of Mars opposed Pluto, as well as that new moon and like what that means for you, where I get deep into for your zodiac sign, like, hey, like destiny's calling. Are you going to like answer that final call in the 9th inning? Or are you going to play small and play on the sidelines? And so I'm going to go through that for all 12 sun signs and rising signs as well. And you can do your moon sign if you know that. And of course, if you want to get an astrology reading, that link will be down below. And the natal chart ebook that I put out, if you want to do kind of more of a DIY route and study the placements in your natal chart, I wrote an ebook for how you can pull that up and look at that and study it. It's for people that really like to go more into their studies of astrology. And of course, the real deep stuff would be the 10+ hour video astrology school that I did to teach people how to be an astrologer. So that link will be down below as well. So don't fuck it up this weekend. And that just looks like the self-sabotage of like not taking any action, or like taking actions that are just like piddle dicking around, you know, like kind of aimless, because that's like where you start getting hijacked by your fears and apprehensions, because some of those fears could actually be real, being like, hey, silly, like stupid, you're blowing your life up like one moment at a time because you're not paying attention. You could have it better. And then you get in that state of actual fear, but then you don't change it, you don't transform it, you don't look at it. And then that's where other weird shit slips in. So I'm not trying to scare anyone, just it's a spiritual war out there. It's real. I love you all. If you guys want to get those specials, those links will be down below. And of course, if you want to get a reading, hit me up. All right, love you all.